Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Barth, the Research Coordinator with the American Floral Endowment. In this video, I'll be sharing information about the AFE Research Proposal application process. This video will cover the application timeline from submission to notification, proposal requirements and the online submission form, current research priorities. One question that I know many of you are wondering, what makes a good proposal? Requirements and timelines if your project receives funding. And lastly, I'll answer some frequently asked questions. AFE research proposals are due by August 1st each year. After we've received the proposals, the SAF Growers Council and the AFE Research Committee review and rate the proposals on a scale of 1 to 5 for industry relevance. These scores are combined, and in October, the Research Committee meets to review the combined scores, which provide guidance for which proposals are moved forward for peer review. At this point, applicants will be notified if the proposal was moved forward or not. Note that this first stage in the review process is more about determining industry need and relevance, and not so much about the technical details of the proposal. If a proposal is selected for peer review, reviewers are then selected based on expertise in the area of the proposal. I typically get around 4 peer reviewers per project to ensure a robust review. And these reviewers do look more at the technical aspects, such as the budget or the methods proposed or the lit review. And these reviewers are typically either university faculty with no connection to the proposal or technical specialists in industry or the government. Peer reviewers also provide a rating, and all of the peer review scores are combined with the SAF Growers Council and AFE Research Committee scores to provide an overall average. In December, the Research Committee will meet again to review the peer reviews and the final scores, which will determine which projects are funded. Please note that the number of projects funded each year can vary depending on the number of projects that are ending and the total research dollars that are available in the budget for the coming year. We typically try to notify researchers if their project was funded or not by January 15th. We try to do it as early as possible because we know that you're depending on this notification in order to plan for the coming year or put a notice out for graduate students. And so we always do our best to be as prompt as possible. And lastly, project funding begins in July or August of the following year. So you'll get one payment in July or August, and then another one the following January. Some general requirements for our proposals. The applications do need to be submitted online now. We just implemented a new online submission portal last year, which some of you watching this have already used. Projects need to be 1 to 3 years in length. We do highly encourage the inclusion of preliminary results and data. We do require a literature review, but it must be brief. However, it needs to include relevant research conducted either domestically or internationally. And in addition to, just being a standard part of any sort of research application or paper that you're writing, it also kind of helps our reviewers to see whether you are up to date on the current research being conducted by other institutions or individuals domestically or around the world. AFE policies currently do not allow for the payment of overhead or indirect costs or faculty salaries. Joint projects are allowed and encouraged. For projects with multiple researchers at the same or different institutions, we just require that you list all the researchers in the application, and you need to denote a team leader. We require that AFE is acknowledged in all presentations or publications that you do on the research. You need to contact at least 2 industry representatives about the project for feedback. And we have a section in our application portal where you can provide that information. And if you aren't quite sure who to contact, or maybe you have several people, but you're not sure, which one would be more appropriate, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would be happy to help answer your question. And one question that we get fairly frequently is whether international researchers can apply. And yes, we do accept proposals from international researchers, but they must be actively collaborating with US researchers. So just a note about our online application form. Some of you are already familiar with this from last year, either if you submitted a proposal or if you were a peer reviewer who is now going to submit a proposal. The application process is very easy. It's all online. All you need to do is go to the AFE research page, find the button that says Apply Now, and then you can either create an account or use your account from last year. And if you have any issues with this or any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Me or Candace Musgrove, our AFE programs coordinator, can assist you with setting up your account or submitting your application. So our research committee takes a lot of time considering the priorities and adjusting them or reordering them each year based on issues they think could impact the industry in the coming years. So this year's research priorities, after our recent discussion, are sustainable production and handling practices, including water use efficiency, growing media, and plastic alternatives; automation, technology, and AI leading to labor savings; biocontrol of pests; reduction of the impact of climate change on production, handling, and product quality; advanced breeding technology, including CRISPR; long-term storage and shipping conditions for cut flowers, bedding, and potted plants; production technology; post-harvest technology; and botrytis and thrips control and management. So some of these priorities probably look pretty familiar, but we do reorder them and assess them each year. And these priorities are ones that have frequently been presented to us or the committee members by the industry. At AFE, we are always asking growers, industry members, what are your biggest challenges and what do you need research on? This helps make sure that we are serving the industry in the best way possible. So, what makes a good proposal? I did just talk about relevancy. So the first stage of the review process, as well as our priorities, really help establish industry relevancy. So the project needs to address a production or handling issue facing the floriculture industry. It should address at least one of the research priorities identified by AFE, if not more. It needs to include crops and plant species that are relevant to floriculture. And the results should be, the results from the research project should be relevant to a large segment of the industry across the country, not just regionally or by a state, unless you think that research will have broad-based applications to the industry as a whole. So along with that is significance. Demonstrate that the project and research methods will advance the floral industry and lead to improved efficiency and increased flower and plant quality. And as I mentioned before, we need you to provide the names and companies of 2 industry representatives you have discussed this project with and who have confirmed the need for this project. If you have a letter from them, that's great. You can include that with your proposal as well. We've had some researchers actually submit letters of support from the industry. And do note that AFE, we might contact those people that you listed just to obtain more information about the discussion or about the project. A good proposal should demonstrate the expertise of the researchers and the university or the organization. So the researchers should have shown past experience in the area of the proposed research, including past research and trade publications. The researchers should demonstrate that they have access to facilities, equipment, and labor to complete the project. And this is usually one area where the peer reviewers can really help, note whether they think that the facilities or the equipment are adequate for the proposal. The methods and procedures should demonstrate that the researchers are knowledgeable in that area and what procedures would be the most effective in accomplishing the results. And the researchers should provide a realistic timetable, budget, and approach, which is another area that the peer reviewers really look for. Lastly, we look for proposals that demonstrate that there will be a high level of impact. So you should explain how you will share this information with the industry in publications and presentations. Or if you've already begun this project and you already have some outreach, please share that so we can see that you're already doing this. And in addition to sharing the results in scientific journals, we also really encourage sharing the project information throughout any stage. Even if it's before the final results are out, you can share some of the preliminary results or the focus of the project in trade magazines or some online newsletters. And so if you're funded too, you will submit continuing project reports and final reports, and we use these at AFE to help promote your research as well. So we'll share those in our newsletter, and those are frequently picked up by other industry newsletters like GPN or Greenhouse Grower or Floral Daily and Horta Daily. So if you got funded, there are some additional requirements that you should know about. So as I just mentioned, there is a continued funding report, and this is due by June 1st every year. This report kind of just serves as an update on your current project to ensure that progress is being made as outlined in your original proposal. And we also use these reports to generate outreach, as I also mentioned too. I will either write an article or we'll jointly write an article about what you've shown in your continued funding report to show the industry as well as our stakeholders what is being accomplished with our funding. There is a final project report, and this is required for all projects that are terminated. The report must summarize the results of the project, its scientific accomplishments, and its impact on the industry. The reports are due within 60 days of the termination of the project. And like the continued funding report, we also use these in our outreach and education efforts at AFE. I already mentioned the AFE newsletters, but we do feature our researchers very frequently. And we may also ask you to present a webinar on your research or an additional topic for our AFE GrowPro webinar series. And this, if you're not familiar with GrowPro, it is a webinar series geared to growers. It's not a highly technical audience, so we encourage this to be more broad-based and general in nature. And these webinars offer how-to advice based on AFE-funded research projects or other relevant topics to help the industry navigate through growing challenges. And these webinars just keep growing in popularity. And we recently had our highest attended webinar ever just a few weeks ago. So people do watch these webinars. They are important. They are referenced at various conferences. And so we always appreciate your participation in these. So now I'll answer some frequently asked questions that I have received. So the report you provide in your application, we ask for a 3-page report or proposal on your research. So one question I get a lot is, what if I have more information than can fit in a 3-page report? And so we really highly encourage you to stay within those 3 pages. Peer reviewers typically know the length of the project and that, it's going to be probably condensed. However, if you truly feel that there is some additional info that you really need to include, whether it's some preliminary data or preliminary results or industry impact letters, things of that nature, just check with me and you can add that as an appendix onto your proposal. Another question I get is, can I submit more than one proposal? And yes, you can. We understand that some researchers have multiple areas of focus, and you definitely can. It's not super common, but it has happened. You know, there's no guarantee that one or both projects will be funded. It doesn't like stack your odds or anything like that. But yes, you are absolutely welcome to submit more than one proposal. Some people ask what to do if their project fits into more than one of the research priorities. And that's great. You can, you know, just pick the one that when you apply online, you can pick the one that's most relevant. You think broadly to the project on which one it fits under the best, but you can also note in the proposal or in the application somewhere the other priorities that you think it fits into as well, and this can kind of really help show the relevance of your project. Some researchers ask what the Gus Pesh Research Fund is, and this is a pool of money that is designated for researchers at The Ohio State University. And some years we may have more funding than others, depending on when projects are finishing up or you know, how many projects we have. We do have more floriculture researchers at OSU now, which is awesome. So if you have any questions about Gus Pesh or whether or not there will be funding in the current year, please just send me an email and I can answer that question for you. Some of you may have seen that the Gleckner Foundation is now under AFE, and I've had people reach out wondering how this will impact the AFE proposal process. Will it impact their chances of receiving funding? Is it the same process now as AFE with our research committee looking at this? And so, no, if you receive Gleckner funding, this does not, you know, impact your chances of receiving AFE funding. And the Gleckner Foundation still has its own committee, still has its own review process. So for the most part, it is entirely separate. I should note that in making the funding decisions, our research committee does look at funding from other sources. So we look at SCRI funding, we look at FNRI funding, we look at other USDA grants, we do look at Gleckner. And so we kind of just try to get an idea of the overall funding that the project receives. But if you are selected for Gleckner funding this year, please just apply to AFE like you normally would. It hasn't changed anything. I've had some researchers ask why they need to submit a final project report, especially when they've already published numerous articles on the research, done many presentations, and demonstrated impact. And I know that the final project report can kind of seem like busy work or just more work on top of your already busy schedule. But the AFE, you know, our funding is provided by the industry. This is through industry donations and contributions. And so these reports are very important for our stakeholders to see the impact of the research and to see what their dollars are doing. And so your final project report kind of helps us to ensure that, you know, our research efforts are relevant, that people would still want to continue donating to AFE, contributing to our research process. And so even though I do understand where you're coming from, these final project reports are very important. And as I also said too, they really help us in sharing your research across our social media platforms, our newsletters, and other communications. Some people wonder if graduate students can submit proposals. I do think that the researcher, the PI, needs to be the faculty member who is submitting this to the grants office. However, graduate students can put their name on the application. And that way, you know, on their CV after they graduate, they can list that they were, you know, a grant recipient. Another question that has come up a lot lately, especially from certain institutions, is I'm required to submit overhead and salary in my proposals before I can even apply. Can I still submit to AFE? And so we do have in our policies and procedures that we cannot pay for overhead or salary costs, but we don't want to discourage you from applying because we know that some of the leading researchers in floriculture are at universities that require this. So if you have any questions about this, please reach out to me, or you can submit the proposal and then we can kind of just look at it as it comes. A big question that many people have is what is the budget range for projects? So I would say the middle ground is probably about 40 to 50,000 a year. Projects are varying by year to year too. Some of the projects are, 20,000 for 1 year, or some are higher than that for 3 years. So there's not really a set budget range that we necessarily look for. And lastly, do I need to wait to start my project until I receive funding? And the answer is no. We do have some people who have already started, an area of research, and they already have preliminary results and data, like we mentioned. So no, your project does not have to wait on the funding in order to start. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. All of us at AFE hope you feel encouraged to apply for funding this year. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me at any point with any questions that you have about the research process or the review process, or just anything that was covered here today, or if you have any additional questions. And so we look forward to seeing your proposals by August 1st.